Hi, I'm Lucía and welcome to my exam of school organization and diversity. For the first block, I had to create and contextualize a school following this given diagnosis.
My school name is Nebula, and it is a typical public primary school located in a socially diverse area near the center of Murcia City.
It has around 300 students, 15 teachers, 4 support teachers, and a management team. As a result, we have a wide range of cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds within our students, and we also have students that are disabled or that have special educational needs. Our school is going through a bit of a rough time because even though the teachers are passionate and they care about their job, their daily responsibilities seem to overwhelm them. The high workload is seen as the main source of stress, while the students' behavior is also a challenge. In addition, there is a lack of preparation for inclusive education, and since our students' body is so diverse, teachers often feel insecure and underqualified when trying to meet all the students' needs, which increases their stress level.
For this next part, I chose ChatGPT as the AI tool to use the prompt given. This was its response. After receiving and analyzing the 10 different measures, I've selected these 5 I think are the most relevant for my school situation. The first measure is creating protected time for teachers to plan together regularly, and I think that would be important in my school to trial because the teachers are often working by themselves, and being able to plan collaboratively would help them share materials, strategies, and responsibilities while also reducing the stress and workload. All measures are supported by the Alumno Decree 2009-2022. In this case, it is supported by the Article 29.1 that promotes the teamwork among teachers and flexible teaching models, Article 29.7 that allows the schools to create coordination mechanism between the teachers, and even Article 13.1.d, which includes coordination meetings in the school's annual planning. The main actors involved are teachers, support teachers, and the school's management team. And this measure would improve relationship within the schools, like the one between the teachers, because they would be collaborating more instead of working in isolation. A stronger professional relations can improve inclusion and also make teaching practices more consistent across all classrooms. The second measure is creating an inclusive education support team inside the school, which I think is essential for me because the teachers cannot respond to all the students' needs alone. The classrooms are full of students with learning difficulties, language barriers, or behavioral challenges, so coordinated support is more than necessary. This measure is supported by the LOMLOE by the Article 31.1.j that requires the schools to include an attention to diversity plan, by the Article 32.2.f that establishes coordination between professionals in the school, and by the Article 33.c that requires measures of attention to diversity in teaching programs. The actors involved are teachers, support teachers, a school counselor, management team, and the principal. This measure would improve relationships between the teachers, the other school professional, and even the students by helping with their communication and teamwork. It would also reduce the teacher isolation and create a more coordinated support system for the students. The third measure is reducing the unnecessary tasks and reviewing the teacher's workload, and I honestly think it would be the most important thing to do at my school at the moment because the teacher's well-being is strongly connected to their workload. Many teachers are spending too much time on paperwork and meetings, which reduces the time available for students and lessons preparation. This measure is supported by the LOMLOE by the Article 21.1 that gives the school organizational autonomy and the Article 30.1.d that allows the schools to organize schedules and coordination meetings. However, the decree doesn't directly mention workload nor its reduction, so the implementation depends on the management team and the school organization. The actors involved are teachers, support teachers, management team, and indirectly the educational administration. This measure could help the relationship between the teachers and the higher-ups of the system by improving the trust between them, as it is said that reducing unnecessary bureaucracy can create less stressful and more collaborative professional relationships. The fourth measure is implementing co-teaching and more support inside ordinary classroom that has already started in my school. And I think this is quite appropriate, as inclusive education should happen mainly inside the regular classrooms, not through the separation. Co-teaching allows the students with different needs to receive support while staying with their classmates. This measure is of course supported by the LOMLOE as well, by the Articles 29.3 that promotes flexibility in teaching methods, spaces, and organization, Article 33.c that requires attention to diversity measures, and Article 32.2.l that establishes reinforcement measures for the students with specific educational needs. The main actors involved are teachers, support teachers, and students. This measure changes the classroom relationship between the teachers and the students because teaching becomes more collaborative. teachers her responsibilities and create more flexible and cooperative learning environments. The fifth and final measure is improving relationship with the families and the local community, which is an obvious answer, but it is still essential for diverse schools like mine because poor communication with families can create a stress for the teachers and difficulties for their students. A stronger collaboration can improve inclusion and the student well-being. This measure is supported by the law, by the Article 29.4 that promotes educational commitments with families, Article 31.1.a that states that school must consider the student's social and cultural environment, Article 31.1.h that includes relationship with families in the school improvement plan, and finally, Article 35 that establishes families' rights and responsibilities in education. The actors involved are teachers, support teachers, families, students, and community organizations. This measure will strengthen the trust between families and the school, reduce conflicts, and also improve communication. Positive school-family relationships help the school function more effectively and support the students better.
After analyzing my AS proposal, I think that for the most part, it actually includes realistic and useful ideas that I can use for improving my teachers' well-being and inclusion. But I also think there are some issues with it. First, the proposal focuses on students that have learning difficulties or special educational needs, but it doesn't address other types of diversity, like students that come from different socioeconomic backgrounds or that have mental health issues. I also think that some relationships are kind of simplified. For example, collaboration within teachers is something that is seen easy, but in real life there can be conflict, there can be resistance to change or lack of time. I also think some of the school relationships are simplified. For example, collaboration within teachers is seen as something easy, but in real life there can be conflicts, there can be resistance to change, or just lack of time. Finally, the proposal focuses more on serious and formal relationships and structures like with the management team and the supporting teachers than on informal relationships within the school. But research on school organizations shows that these second types of relationships are the ones that strongly influence how the school really functions. So overall, the proposal is useful, but it sometimes presents schools as more organized and collaborative than they really are, like my school.
And now, for the second block, I decided to read the article about the refugees because I honestly think it is really interesting to learn about a real-life situation that will be affecting me the moment I become a teacher. After reading the case of Compasiva, which I have never heard about, I honestly think this NGO is really playing an important role in the refugee children's right to education, especially in situations of crisis or forced migration. One important barrier for educational inclusion shown in this case is language and documentation, because many refugee children come to the country without learning the language and without official documentation, which can make school participation much more difficult, and in some cases, they also feel excluded because they come from different cultural backgrounds. Teachers may lack time, training, or resources to support their students that have experienced trauma or that have interrupted their schooling. The case also shows a limitation of formal educational systems because even if the schools accept the refugee students, they aren't always prepared to respond to their emotional, social, or educational needs. Teachers may lack training, time, or resources to support their students that have experienced trauma or that have interrupted their schooling. I think this case also illustrates how attending to diversity is much more complex than simply placing a student in a classroom. Schools are social organizations where relationships, communication, and institutional structures strongly influence inclusion, and because of this, refugee students may still face exclusion even when they are physically present in school. In conclusion, in this context, Compasiva acts as a bridge between the refugee families and the schools by providing guidance, support, and accompaniment that formal systems sometimes cannot provide on their own. For Block 3, I decided to focus on coexistence because I think it is one of the main challenges in my school. Since it is very diverse, creating a positive environment is essential so that all the students feel respected and included. The first action I would introduce is classroom dialogue and mediation activities. And this is because in my school, some conflicts happen because the students struggle to understand the different backgrounds or perspectives from their own. And I think giving the students spaces to talk and solve their problems peacefully could improve their empathy and reduce exclusion. This action could improve relationship between the students and create more respectful interactions, although it would require time and teacher preparation. The second action would be improving relationship with families through multicultural workshops and informal meetings. In my school, some families may feel disconnected because of language or cultural barriers. I think creating more welcoming spaces for families could help the students feel more supported and included. The benefit would be stronger trust between families and teachers. Also, participation must still be unequal depending on the family's circumstances. Lastly, for my third action, there would be a practical teacher training on inclusion and coexistence strategies. Many teachers in my school feel overwhelmed and not fully prepared to respond to diversity in the classroom, so more practical training could help them feel more confident managing conflicts and also supporting students with different needs. Then, there would be better collaboration between the teachers, although training alone cannot solve problems like workload or lack of resources. To implement these actions, I think my school would need a collaborative and supportive type of leadership. Personally, I would take an active role in promoting these kind of changes in the future as a teacher. I think leadership should encourage teamwork, communication, and shared responsibility instead of focusing only on authority. Positive leadership can strongly influence the school climate and relationship within the educational community. Now for my reflection, I would say I deserve at least an 8. I deserve a high mark in general because I have been working consistently with my group when doing all the activities in classroom, and I've been trying to understand them. I just didn't want to memorize them. I really wanted to understand because I knew this information would be useful for me. And with this activity, I've also been working hard. I've been trying to do my best. I didn't want to make something that was super boring. I didn't want to just use generative AI without really analyzing and thinking about it. So I think I've been doing a good job with that. With the school organization, I understood way better that a school is really a complex place with a lot of things like leaderships and coexistence to keep in mind. And it isn't just some timetables or me arriving as a teacher or just talking about the topic I want. It is really a complex place, and I think, thanks to this assignment, I've been really giving it thoughts. And with attention to diversity, I've learned that inclusion is not just helping students with special needs, but it is about adapting learning so every student feels valued and respected and it is able to participate equally. Thanks to making this video, I've really been learning things that I don't think I would be learning if I just heard it in class, so I'm really glad I've done this, even though it was a bit hard. So I hope you enjoyed this video too.